Hi. Today is about values and goals. And before we really start, I want to show you this graph. And this graph comes from The Overcoming Bipolar Disorder by Bauer, Kilborn, Greenwald, Ludman, and McBride. And I'll say again what's on it, and you can decide whether it would be helpful to you. It's what time you get out of bed, and they're given an example of 9:30. First contact with a person, they're putting 10 o'clock. Having morning beverage, 9:30. Having breakfast, 10 o'clock. Going outside for the first time, 10:45. Having lunch at noon. Having dinner at 7:30. I just want to comment there. Like health and dietary people say, try to eat before 7 because after 7 it has something about digestion and weight and whatever. You can research it. You can Google why shouldn't you eat after 7. But I think there is something there. Physical exercise 5:30. Having an evening snack 9 o'clock. Watching TV news 10 o'clock. This person, the example, didn't watch another television program. At 9:30, they had a phone conversation. They returned home for the last time at 7, and they went to bed at 10. So, not only sleep hygiene, but a rhythm. The word is escaping me, but I'll remember it. It starts with the circadian rhythm, okay? Circadian rhythm isn't just for mentally ill people. It's for everybody, your rhythm. And bipolar disorder, you have to stay with a rhythm. There are going to be times when you can't do much about a abrupt change, like a Christmas party, a New Year's party, where you're out and up later, or you might have a reason to get up early, or your eating schedule will change. But for the regular rhythm, it's really important. Okay, and I was labeling this on my channel, but I will drop this into my channel as values and goals. So we're going to start with that overcoming bipolar disorder, where it would say a comprehensive workbook for managing your symptoms and achieving your life goals. So this is life and goals, values and goals. Give me uno momento, por favor. Okay, found it. Goals are what make life worth living. These goals are determined by all the things that make us uniquely human. Our personalities, our experiences, our inclinations, our desires, and the like. Somewhere along the line, we developed a set of values and priorities by which we live our lives. We might consider that goals are ends that we strive for, the what's in life, while values are the reasons that we have chosen those goals. That's the whys in life. Sometimes we're consciously aware of these values and goals, and sometimes not. But in either case, our sense of who we are makes, give me a minute, what makes us feel happy is formed by these values and goals. Where these values and goals come from is unique to each of us as goals and values themselves. For some of us, values have a spiritual basis. For others, they're rooted in family or culture. Still others seem somehow to have worked out their values with reference to literature or politics or other factors. Sometimes we make a specific choice about goals and values, but often they just kind of sneak up on us, and we find our lives pointed in a particular direction. So, I would I would say, because of the way brains develop, the young people are still finalizing their brains till 25. So in my mind, I'm thinking, that's a good time to definitively key in your values and your goals. A lot of people start goals early on. Like, I was in 6th grade, I knew I wanted to get a doctorate. My youngest daughter is a doctor. She knew that in 6th grade. Very, very unusual. Sometimes people start college and they don't even know. But if college is a goal, the first 2 years are, they're not electives, they're like foundational courses. And most of the time, what you take would go with anything you majored in. And you can always check with somebody on at the college to see that that's right. So as people are saying, which wasn't when it was my time to make a decision, so many people are saying now that college may not be for everyone. They've gotten away from like carpentry and plumbing and those kind of availabilities in high school to have like shop kind of classes. Sometimes your craft, your goal would be carpentering. Sometimes, besides knowing about plumbing, you want to help people in situations where plumbing is crucial, and you could be a real help to them. So I think in this day and age, you should really think about all the possibilities. And if you have the money, or you know how you would pay back the money for 2 years of college, probably a good thing. There's community colleges that do 2 years. They're not as expensive as regular college. State college, a little, well, more expensive, but then privately owned colleges, more expensive. And often I've heard the research go, people that go to, colleges that aren't Ivy League can still have, the successes that somebody going to Ivy League can have. And sometimes people can end up in Ivy League and not be able to handle the work. And we shouldn't be setting young people up for failure, which you can do if you, kind of guide or push them towards a college that is, going to require more work, more higher level work. Like, the college education is still very good, but people have a feeling about Ivy League colleges, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, University of Pennsylvania, I'm not naming them all, that, that's a very, very good start if you've done that education and you've been able to handle it. But many successful people aren't from Ivy League, so just so we all know. Okay. In any case, behind it all, our goals and values, drives, and life choices make life worth living, but it's easy to get caught up in day-to-day activities of life and not think about your goals. This is quite relevant to living with bipolar disorder. Your approach to the condition and how you manage it are fundamentally driven by your own specific goals and values. That is, by what you ultimately believe makes life worth living and makes you a unique human being. And more specifically, I lost my place again. When you when you begin to lose sight of your goals for whatever reason, you lose sight of your values and your sense of what makes what life worth living. That's true of all of us. You can end up feeling something between guilt and emptiness, and this makes it hard to keep on going. This is true for anyone, but for a person living with bipolar disorder, losing sight of goals make it particularly hard to combat depression and sometimes makes it tough to keep on taking medications day in and day out. What's your reason for getting out of bed in the morning? Everyone needs a reason, and that's very true. One thing I want to mention that we have mentioned before is sometimes with depression, you are unable to get to all your memories, all your knowledge about something, and the usual way it goes, I don't know if it goes this way every time, but what I've read is the memories are still there. They're going to come back at some point. Your build up knowledge is going to come back at some point. But in the middle of that struggle, you may not feel that it will. So kind of reminding yourself going along, if that happens, and I lose memories and I lose knowledge, it's somewhere there, and I can research the percentages. It really wouldn't matter. But, the majority of the time, they will come back. So that's reassuring to someone who has built knowledge on a particular level for a particular career or job. And, you've had good and bad memories of life, but you want to be able to look back on them. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. And let's all get ready for Manic Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.